Well, they finally ticked off the old cowboy. Americans, when will we wake up and take our country back? That's the question. You know, I was flying to Texas the other day. I was cruising along at 36,000 feet, passing millions of nameless people down below. But there was a common thread that by and large joined those folks and me. We are Americans. Most of us, anyway. I've worked all over the world and observed other cultures and their feelings about Americans, and I was deeply moved to realize that in the span of my lifetime I have watched our country and our countrymen go from being the most loved and admired nation in the world to the most hated. Are we so different from my grandparents' generation? Have our values changed so dramatically as to make us long for the America of 50 years ago? It's a difficult question, and the answer certainly depends on the individual's life that tries to answer the question. I know that the greed and misguided policies of our politicians and corporations have turned our nation into a service economy and virtually destroyed our manufacturing capability. This was done for the rest of the world's benefit and has effectively altered the future and economy of what was once the greatest manufacturing nation in the history of the world. We have been converted into a national dumping ground to ensure that other nations' peoples have jobs. The reason for this is to buy their support for the foreign policies of their government and our government, and to build the fortunes of corporate greed. In other words, we bought our friends and support. In truth, we have purchased nothing but the destruction of our working class. In the 60s, we needed a strong ally in the Middle East, so we invested billions of America's tax dollars into contracts for the Saudi royal family. We wanted an ally in the Far East, and by slick trade agreements, China has become the manufacturer of most of what we have available in our stores. At the expense of America's jobs and trade incentives, we turned Japan into a world power and the largest manufacturer of automobiles and electronics in our country. Our major corporations found it was more profitable to sell a license to make their products than it was to manufacture the product itself. Who purchased these licenses? China, Japan, and many others. America lost the jobs, the foreign countries gained the jobs, and the American corporations made the money. They also received relief from their American tax burden. Our government wanted India as an ally, and Pakistan, and has moved millions of America's jobs to India by giving United States corporations tax incentives. An Indian citizen can purchase a motel in the United States for only $10,000 down and receive a low-interest loan guaranteed by your tax dollars. Can you do this? No. Have you ever wondered why so many convenience stores and motels are owned by Indian nationals? Again, I have nothing against free enterprise, but I am against the manner in which foreign nationals have more privileges than our own citizens, especially when it's your tax dollars that support them. All of this happens through deals between foreign governments and our government. In short, there is no other nation on the face of this planet that has sacrificed its citizens' jobs, security, and well-being the way our great country has done, all in the name of greed and foreign policy. My only thought was, just what will it take to make the citizens of this country mad enough to do something about it? What will it take for the current generation of Americans to be concerned enough about the generations to come to return this country to its citizens? I do not advocate protectionism. We have to be part of a global community, but we certainly have to level the playing field, and we can. The politicians and corporations depend on our dollars and our votes, the two most important items in our arsenal. Let me give you a couple of examples. To prevent countries from dumping goods in the United States that are produced by their citizens, who are almost all working for slave wages, we need to impose a tariff that takes into account the minimum wage of the countries that are dumping. A percentage can be individually applied to each country to make the cost of goods equal to what the same goods would cost to be produced in the United States. At that point, the quality of the goods will be the reason for your purchase from American suppliers instead of foreign countries. 2. Prevent American corporations from taking advantage of investments in foreign countries which allow them to get tax credits for paying their American taxes. 3. Impose additional tariffs on imported goods based on the cost of living index of each country. This will also have the effect of the countries raising the living standards of their own goods to avoid tariffs on their exported goods. I'm not an economist, and I'm sure there are going to be those that will try to baffle us with bullshit to dispute any of my ideas. I am an American, and I know what happens in other countries. I've been there, and I've seen the way their jobs and citizens are protected. I also know that the United States of America cannot and should not maintain relations with other countries and corporations at the expense of the citizens of this great country. We need to just look at our children and at the current path we're taking. If that's not enough to get you off your butt and write the representatives and exercise your rights to vote for people who protect you, then may God help us as we become a third world country because of our apathy and complacency. America, we can do it if we just realize what is happening. Look around us at the poverty in our cities. It is crazy to send billions of dollars to aid others while our schools are struggling to even put a coat of paint on them, let alone provide every classroom with computers. I hate to say this, America, but as long as there is one student that is forced to have a substandard education in the United States, there should not be one penny spent elsewhere to buy friends in foreign countries. I know firsthand that the other countries would not allow this to happen to their citizens. Why in the hell are we allowing it to happen here? We had a major catastrophe in New Orleans, and we are so far in debt to other countries that we are borrowing the money from China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and other lender countries to help us fix our country. America, there's something wrong with this picture, and only we can change it. If there's enough interest in my opinions, I'll be glad to help you come to terms with what it needs and what it takes. It is past time that we as Americans take back our country and provide for our future and the future of our children. We can do it. You have the money. You have the vote, you have the power. You need to wake up before it's too late.